was a real bummer to have to drop that far down off the ridge, but this ended up being a nice quiet camp. I slept really, really well. Campsites like this on a hillside remind me of some less than ideal camping I did on the AT and the Smokies and such when the shelters were just packed and there was nowhere to go. So ironically, I ended up doing the ridge line instead of the road walk, which was spectacular. Views, you know, I'm up on the divide, and that's what I'm here for, you know. Continental Divide Trail, not the Continental Road Walk Trail. However, since I didn't want to camp completely exposed on that ridge on all the rocks, I ended up dropping down to the trees and then having to go down past the road walk, which was sloping up to meet another pass up ahead. I did have internet from Winter Park down there behind me, so I was able to look a little bit. It does look like there's a storm coming through. I don't have a hard and fast plan at the moment. Looks like the worst of the storm is going to be when I was climbing Grays, which, you know, that's 4,000 feet of climbing up to 14,000 feet. That may not be viable if the storm is bad enough. If it's a little bit of sprinkling, no big deal. So I'm playing it by ear. Worst case, I may have to dive into Winter Park or something for a day. If it had been a trail like this, I might have tried a late night up and over, but it was going to take quite a while. And once I started up the 13er, there wouldn't have been an option to stop and camp without going over or bailing back. And the ridge line was just slow going. Spectacular views, but there were a lot of ankle twister holes and rocks on sections. And towards the end of the day, the risk of something going wrong starts to get a little higher as I get tired. When I'm back in the Sierra peak bagging or such, I really like using a bivvy. I have a Jack's or Better quilt plus an OR 4-season bivvy that's kind of been my go-to. See, if I had that last night, I would have just camped on the ridge. You can throw it out pretty much anywhere, and it doesn't catch the wind since you're so low to the ground. And even if it storms on you, it doesn't matter. I've been through 13-hour rainstorms in that thing, a couple inches of snow, you know, whole deal. So this is Rogers Pass. Once I started running out of daylight, this is where I started aiming last night, thinking I could backtrack down this trail or go down the other side. Which seemed like kind of a shame if I'm going to go do a 13er to do it in the dark. I mean, you do get views of the lights down below and things like that, but you don't quite get the expansive views. One of the things I love about taking people up mountains is often from a distance, they look unclimbable. You look at it and you're like, oh, how am I ever going to get up that? And then once you get up close, the routes become apparent. Well, what do you know? I'm not the only person out here. I kind of climb. For the record, very happy I didn't do this last night. On the summit, and I enjoyed that way more than I would have last night. God, that is a pretty sight. I'm actually going to be heading over that way, and there is a traverse going over the peaks to Mount Flora. Not usually the sort of thing I do with my thru hiking gear though. Dropping down so I can go over another 13er. Fun times. We'll see if the wind lets me record this, but basically I've got some less than ideal decisions to make here. As I mentioned, weather is coming in Tuesday through Thursday-ish with high winds on Friday. That is right around when I'm going to be going through the section of Grays, which is the high point of the trail. and it's an extended traverse, you know, up high, up above tree line. I can afford maybe a day if conditions were going to get better, but it looks like it might cost me several days. And in that case, I can't really afford that based on, you know, I need to keep moving here. There is a lower altitude alternate, keeps me down around 11,000 feet, which might be more doable, especially if partway along I can, you know, get those rain pants I've been wishing for. But it's a thing I don't want to do. I've really enjoyed the red line. Granted, peak bagger, so coming back and doing peaks, especially since I got family north and south of here, that's one thing. It just grinds my gears at the idea of doing shortcuts. Potential with Silverthorn, I can keep moving through this, not lose as much time, not get into sketchy conditions. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've done a lot of climbing in sketchy conditions, but I've got through hiking gear, not mountaineering gear with me. There is a limit. It is funny because the idea, you know, trying to work through the idea of possibly taking Silverthorn instead of the harder red line. It's not even like missing out on an individual summit because, like I said, I do peaks and I can get back out here to do peaks. It's just, it's like I have this gut reaction thinking that my brain is just wanting to take the easy way and being dead set against doing that. Easiest thing in the world to, you know, back off or take the easy way. My gut, at least at the moment, is take the lower altitude route. I mean, it's still up at 11,000 some feet, but okay, stopped and filtered some water. So at least for the moment, the plan is going to be tomorrow start the Silverthorn Alt, hike through the storm, probably until Wednesday night. At that point, I should be in Silverthorn, probably get a hotel room, figure out if I can get my stuff from Breckenridge or where I can pick it up. And the comments from basically where Silverthorn Alternate comes back to the red line is south of there, it's Colorado Trail. And the trail is really well marked and really smooth. So hopefully that will get me back to higher mileage. And meanwhile, I have another 13er's ass to kick up ahead. So you can see there's fresh snow already on those peaks back there. And now I'm back down at 10,000 feet on my way back up to 13. Downside of being up this high, water sources are sometimes few and far between. So much for clear skies. It's 3 o'clock and I've only done 10 or 11 miles. But at this altitude and with this gain, I need to adjust my estimates down a bit, I guess. So much for no weather till tomorrow. That's Flora. I have to get over it before I can descend. If the weather turns to thunder before, I'm going to have to go off the side and try and find a low point. I am really glad I haven't heard any thunder yet. And the top. At least the views are spectacular in pretty much every direction. Unfortunately, those are the high peaks I'm not going to get to do, it looks like. So I have to get down to that road and then up the other side. It is currently around 5, so I figure I have 2.5 hours or so of daylight left. Well, I figured above the paved road is better than below, so I'm trying to grab my night water here. Well, now wouldn't that just make my day? So this is the water source that somebody else mentioned. But yeah, road runoff. There's actually a warming hut here, but just has bathrooms and trash and such. I'm gonna try and get up this hill far enough away from the traffic. So there's basically another mountain on this side that I need to get over tomorrow before potential weather comes in. I really want to know what that odd building is up there on those towers. I think it's like Colorado Mine Peak. It's 7 o'clock, I'm back at tree line. So I ain't gonna push it. Weather on the way and I don't want to be exposed. I have a hell of an altitude cough going after running around at 13 all day and whatever the last couple of days are. Plus side, if I suddenly come down with HAPE, then my decisions are really easy. I just drop down to 40 and then, find an ER. But for now, I'm set up right at where the tree line ends. Tomorrow I'm going to try and get up and over that peak, and then I've got a couple of options. Depending how bad the weather gets. I'm not going to screw around with anything like today if I've got a chance of thunderstorms in the area, because I spent a good long while with just nothing up there to shelter in. Anyway, home sweet home for the night.